I'm Chris Williams from Cyclone Fanatic, and a proud Iowa State graduate from the class of 2007. No one shows up like Iowa State fans.
And Cyclones support Cyclones on and off the field.
Your gift can provide scholarships to students, fund groundbreaking research. We could even drum up opportunities for the marching band. Visit MoveWhatMatters.com to learn how you can make an impact today.
My name is Joseph Hurst. I live in Ankeny, Iowa, and I'm a part of the PMBA program. I currently work as the Director of Sales at Stony Creek Hotels in Johnston, Iowa, and I chose the Iowa State MBA program because it just made perfect sense. About 2 years ago, I started this wonderful program, and I couldn't imagine not having done it. What has helped the most balance work, life, school, has been the people I'm in class with. It's great to go through questions, problems, study for tests, and it just makes the whole class so much easier. As a working professional thinking about doing an MBA program, I get night classes aren't everybody's dream. I get after a long day of work, you may not want to go do more, but it's worth it. You're going to learn a lot, not just from the professors in the program, but from the other students. They come from all walks of life. They are from different age groups. They're from different companies. They're from all kinds of different backgrounds. They've got all kinds of different stories. And after 2 years, I've made some of the best friends I've ever made, learned the most I've ever learned, and I can't imagine what we're going to do after we're done.
Chris Williams, Brent Blum, from the Wild Rose Casino Studio. It's Williams and Blum, presented by Mechdyne, on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network.
All right, let's get after it. I am in Milwaukee. Bloom is in Bondurant, but I believe making the trek tomorrow? Maybe?
Probably.
Up in the air?
How was the drive for those headed
Honestly,
that way?
the drive sucked today. I left at 5:30, and it just poured the majority of the drive.
So are we on interstates? Like, what's the theme here? Are we on highways?
4-lane highway. I went up and through Dubuque, through Cedar Rapids, that area.
Dubuque.
Yeah, you just took the Marshalltown Road there from Bondurant, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm optimistic that I will see you tomorrow night.
Speaking of Marshalltown, we are presented by our friends at Mechdyne, the Mechdyne Corporation. Shout out to all of them. Ton of Iowa State fans up there, and they are ready for the weekend. Full disclosure, it's 4 o'clock on Wednesday, so we have not seen, the women's game has not happened. We will refrain from that. Connor Ferguson is in South Bend. We will have full coverage, hopefully for a long stay in South Bend with the Iowa State women. Men had a brief media session on Wednesday. Full media takes place on Thursday morning, so you'll see a lot of our coverage there all weekend long from here in Milwaukee. Also, Jacqueline Cordova is in Philadelphia covering national wrestling. So we are all over the country here with Cyclone Fanatic this weekend. Aiden is back in Ankeny, little home base action back there, which we appreciate. The real quick, I want to give a shout out to all of our postseason sponsors as well. We couldn't be all over the country covering this stuff without sponsorship. Our friends at Fairway Meat and Grocery, they're also a wrestling sponsor, so Fairway gives us a ton of support in covering Iowa State athletics. Central States Roofing, those guys are phenomenal. Really appreciate all of their great help over the years. Country Landscapes, I have used them on my own personal house for a really long time. And of course, our good buddies over at Keene Project Solutions as well. All right, Bloom, much better idea on this Lipscomb team compared to Sunday. I watched a couple of their games on Tuesday night, and we also know a little more clear on the other side of the bracket with North Carolina win, and they will play Ole Miss. I haven't seen a line on that game yet. I haven't actually looked that up. I'd be surprised if it's not close to a pick-em, to be honest with you, with the way North Carolina is playing.
Yeah, 2.5. North Carolina favored by 2.5.
Wow, Carolina's favored. So I would have guessed the other way. I would have guessed Ole Miss would be a slight favorite in that game.
I believe if you listen to the Sunday Williams and Blum podcast, one of the hosts predicted that, and it's this one right here. Yeah.
And I didn't think you'd be right, and you were right. Correct.
Okay.
So I did a little video this morning on my way. If you're not following these, by the way, I'm just doing these random videos whenever Carl Chevrolet is sponsoring them, me on the trail. And I threw it out there that could be one of the all-time bad draws for Ole Miss as a 6 seed to get that North Carolina team. Like the way that they're playing right now. I only watched the first half on Tuesday night, and then I turned it off and watched some old Lipscomb games. But I never thought I'd put that sentence together.
Right.
But they're playing so loose, and I mean, just an immensely talented team that just didn't really ever put it together until super late. And I thought Ole Miss would be favored, but I certainly wanted to win that game now.
Yeah, and again, it's pretty simple for North Carolina, honestly, if you just look at their stuff. I mean, they're very talented. C-Dub, RJ Davis goes 6 for 6 from 3. They go 14 of 24 from 3. If North Carolina's making 14 threes, they're going to beat anybody in the tournament. This is not a great three-point shooting team, but this is basketball, right? The ball's got to go in the basket, and when they make shots at a high level, they're athletic enough, they have enough depth that they're going to beat anybody, and that's scary because they have now strung together a couple of really good shooting performances in a row, and that's a team that if it gets hot, athletically they're right there with everybody, and I think that game is interesting. Clearly, Mississippi's been going the other direction that North Carolina has. I'm not shocked at all that North Carolina's the favorite, and you've now seen this. There's enough track record since the first four was started. There is a team, it was VCU when it first started, right? And then they went on that massive run where they got hot. There is an advantage if you play well and you shoot it well that it carries over to the next game because you're feeling really good. And, for some of these teams, they've had 8 days off, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it can be, especially if you're a team coming off a great shooting performance like North Carolina just did. I would lean heavy North Carolina the way it's playing right now, the way it's shooting the ball. I think Mississippi's still very good, but that's not a spot that you want to be if you're Mississippi after that layoff playing a hot North Carolina team. That's not a good spot at all.
I wonder would North Carolina. All the metrics say Iowa State would be favored in that game, but
it depends how the Iowa State game goes. Yeah.
I could see that being basically a toss-up if Iowa State beats if it goes the way we think.
Yeah, so right now, North Carolina's 30th in Ken Palm. Iowa State is 10. Neutral floor. I mean, you're looking C-Dub, I would say probably 3-point Iowa State favorite. Yeah, 2.5, 3. And if they blow out Ole Miss, that could drop down to a pick'em. It really could. I mean, that's why,
because it's this point you kind of throw out. You don't throw out the metrics, but it's a very loose base, and you go with who's hot. And that's why it's like there's a couple of these games. Like if I'm just betting it, this UC San Diego team, just bet them. Like they may not beat Michigan, but Vegas is telling you what to do. They are telling because nobody's heard of this team. And they're a 2-point underdog to the Big Ten champions. Take them.
If you're filling out your bracket, look at the Vegas lines, not the seed lines.
Yes.
And it'll generally be pretty close to that. But
and it's not always. You're right. It's not a guarantee, but they're telling you what way to bet it.
Same with Colorado State, Memphis. That's another weird one.
Yes, that's the other one.
And then I'm terrified if I'm BYU. I'm terrified if I'm BYU right now playing VCU. What that one is 2 points now.
VC, that's the most interesting first round game to me. Maybe you're right there with Carolina, Ole Miss, but
in the
6-11 game,
Louisville Creighton's fun. That starts the whole thing tomorrow. I'm excited for that one. Actually some of these first round games are really fun. That's and then,
VCU BYU is you talk about contrasting style. I actually really that's an awful draw for BYU. That's as bad of a 11 seed as they could possibly. They would have been better off being a 7 seed and playing a lot of those 10 teams.
For sure.
That is a terrible draw for them.
For sure. I'm fascinated by that game. But yeah, I mean that honestly. Look at the Score app. If you download the Score app or the ESPN app, all of them have the point spreads. look at that, not the seed line. Like, there's going to be upsets or go, oh my gosh. But then if you look at it, it's like, well, it wasn't
Not
that much
that
of an
big
upset.
of an upset.
Yeah.
Like these 12-5s and these 11s, there's really not much difference in these teams.
And in that regard, Iowa State is still a 14-point favorite. So yes,
Makes me
that
feel
would
bad.
that would be an upset if Iowa State loses to Lipscomb. That's a big upset.
All right, so watch this Lipscomb team. 41 is a monster. I'm not even gonna. You pronounce his name. He's the Sheboygan kid.
Yeah, he's the Wisconsin.
Just gonna
kid.
call him the Ognasevich. That is his name.
Good enough for me.
The guy I really like, 2 is Powell. 10 out there. You astutely pointed this out on Sunday's show about their free throw shooting. They're like 7th in the country. So don't put these guys at the line. Reminds you of BYU, in that comp right there. The thing with me, Brent, they don't go deep at all. They only play like 6 guys. They'll play a 7th, but he only plays like 8 to 10 minutes. On paper, Iowa State should kill this team on the glass. They should have it should look like that BYU game in Kansas City, but hopefully they're not hitting 18 threes or whatever the hell it was. But what worries me, everything leads to an Iowa here, but this team has the firepower where if they have one of those games, they can beat anybody, including the Iowa State Cyclones.
For sure, and it's the great unknown of they haven't played a high major in 3 months, which they're going to have confidence. You're right, they shoot it great, but a pressured shot's a lot different against Iowa State than it is against North Alabama or Queens College, right? So Iowa State needs to speed them up, make them uncomfortable. And Chris, they're small. Like, they are not big.
Yeah, all those guys. I mean, Ognasevich is 6'8", but he's like the biggest dude out there.
And this Joe Anderson, who's he's from the area. He's a great shooter. Like, do not leave him open. But he's 5'11", 160. Like, you would think Iowa State's size and physicality could overwhelm them. That's what you want as an Iowa State fan. If, however, they get comfortable and they're able to run their stuff. These guys run great stuff. They have great action. The coach is a legend. He's been around forever. Not there, but he's been a D2 guy forever. They're super efficient, but efficiency only works so much until you get sped up. And that's on Iowa State to really speed them up without fouling. And I think that's the big underlying factor here. I do not know how they are going to rebound with Iowa State. I think
that's the edge I see too.
Yeah, I mean, Jefferson and Jackson and Chatfield, and even get on the boards with Watson and Momcilovic. Attack the glass.
Are you throwing Jefferson on 41, or can Heisey hang with him a little bit? Like, what do you do?
Well,
if you're
he's more of a. Well, haven't watched him a couple times. He can
he's
do
a
both.
stretch 4.
Yeah, he's a stretch 4, but he shoots it a lot. I think both of those would be fine. And he and Anderson will not leave the floor. Those guys are going to play the whole game. They will play the whole game. And honestly, Iowa State's best action, go right at him on the other end. I don't know how they're going to guard Jackson and Jefferson both. I don't. I wouldn't be surprised, and again, I've watched them a lot, if they don't try and do some zone stuff, because if Iowa State's able to get them ISO'd in the post, I don't care how much trapping they're going to do. It's going to be a long day for Lipscomb. And then if they get Ognasevich in foul trouble, boy, they're going to have a rough go. So I think it's an interesting deal on their end defensively. How do they guard Iowa State? I think I start with Jefferson there, C-Dub, and then see how he does. Yeah. But I think Heisey's the wild card. The problem is,
Heisey told me, you can watch this little interview I did with him. I asked him about Ognasevich, and he essentially told me that they'd start with Jefferson. So you're right, but I also don't want him in foul trouble.
Right.
I feel like Heisey can stay with 41 a little bit. I don't know. I'm probably overthinking it, but I watched like 2 or 3 of their games, and like he's really good. Like that's a guy who could get paid in the portal.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't know what his eligibility situation here is.
He has 1 year left. He has a 6th year.
When you're 6'8", 230, and you shoot it at 43%,
he's 48% from 3 in conference play.
That's Yeah, that guy's gonna get paid. So somebody'll back up the truck for that.
He's
guy.
going to go from making nothing to high six figures pretty quick.
Oh yeah, definitely high six figures for sure.
Yeah.
So this is a big opportunity for him, and it's a homecoming game for him. Actually, I think the Ognacevic Momchilovic matchup is they're very similar players. Very
Forgot
similar
about Milan
players.
with him. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're both from. I mean, Sheboygan's just right down the road. He's the key. He's a guy. You know, if he pops for 30, 35, look out. You know, it's one of those things where he could keep them in it. The rest of their guys are super small, and I think Iowa State can really make them uncomfortable. But if they get comfortable, then that's where you're relying on the shot than being missed, and they shoot it great.
Well, and that's where Cinderella happens.
You got it. Because
I've been reading a lot. These upsets, these big upsets, Brent, usually happen when games are in the 50s and 60s.
Again, I don't want to bring this up because it's a swear word in my house, but the Hampton game, that's now, and the UAB game, okay, from years ago, both of them. Both of those games were in the high 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
Because what happens is, in both of those games, actually, Iowa State had a double-digit second-half lead in the Hampton game, and they got super, super, super tight. Iowa State didn't score for like 10 minutes in the second half because the pressure just gets overwhelming on the favorite in that situation. The UAB game, very similar, is Iowa State got super, super tight late, and that's where the upsets can happen. Generally, upsets are not when it's 90 to 88 because a lot of times these teams can't keep up with the firepower. But if it's in the 60s or the high 50s, yeah, they can be around. You're going to find Lipscomb's going to do the old Bill Snyder vampire. They're going to run their stuff. They're going to shoot a lot of shots with 5 seconds or less on the shot clock, and then hope Iowa State doesn't get out in transition. I mean, and if you're Iowa State, you try and speed them up, get as much in transition as possible. And I don't know. I haven't seen enough of them against high majors to really know what I'm getting myself into.
Yeah, I started to watch their game against Arkansas, and I'm like, this is stupid. These teams are so it would be like scouting
November.
Iowa State against Auburn. Like it's a totally different team. You can't
exactly.
So I just watched a couple of their conference tournament games. I watched their championship game where it was a little dicey for them against North Alabama.
And they went to overtime with Queens in the semi.
I did see that. I swear to God, I didn't know Queens had I'm not kidding. I did not know. I had never heard of Queens College or whatever it is.
Queens University. And a fun fact, they're actually not in New York. They're in North Carolina. Yeah.
No way. That's false.
That doesn't make sense. I know, but it's true.
That's false. Williams and Blum, Wednesday. We are presented as always by our friends at Mechdyne.
I looked this up just for you. I was proud of myself. Can you name the most famous alumni from Lipscomb? You know some of these.
Well,
it's in Nashville.
They're in Nashville, so it's got to be
Nashville.
country music.
Yes. Okay.
Garth?
No, Garth's
Garth went to
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State.
Some more recent ones. You can help me out here. Kelsey Ballerini.
Oh yeah, Kelsey. But
Kelsey Ballerini?
She's a good-looking gal.
Dustin Lynch.
Oh yeah, Dustin Lynch. Uh-huh.
Pat Boone. Oh look, Aiden's on it. Pat Boone. I don't know who's Nikki.
I don't know who Nikki is.
She's apparently an Indonesian singer. That's a new one to me. Garrison Matthews played in the NBA for a little bit. Yeah, good call. And then the other one that I recognize was Thomas Rhett. Rhett.
Yeah, it's Rhett Atkins' boy.
Yeah. So private school in Nashville. Their rival is Belmont.
I bet that's
Big
a hell
rivalry.
of a game.
Big rivalry there in Nashville.
They got Belmont, Lipscomb, and Vanderbilt.
Yes.
A lot of colleges there.
It's a lot of colleges there. Interestingly, I cannot figure out their nickname. Like if somebody from Lipscomb
It's the
could get
Bisons, right?
But then, but on the website it just says Bison all everywhere. Like is it
but
the
it says
Bisons?
but the S at the end of it doesn't make any grammatic sense.
I thought Bison was plural.
It is, but
So what do we
like? If you look at a bunch of different places, they'll have the S at the end.
I know.
Of it.
I'm confused. Like we need some clarification. If you could get
I'll
on
get
that,
Yeah, I'll get
for
that on
me tomorrow. Like
I can handle that.
And is it because remember, like our friends at North Dakota State?
Well, they get all pissy about it
because it's the Bison.
Yeah,
and they say it funny.
and they'll yell at you and harass you and do all that stuff.
Like if we're gonna get into it with the Bisons, is it the Bisons, the Bison, or the Bisons? We need to know these information.
All right. Want to thank our friends at Gravitate Co-working, gravitatecoworking.com. Check them out today. It's spring in the city.
It was.
Well, yeah, it's like God. Like it was like 80 degrees, and then you have a blizzard the next day. Gravitatecoworking.com. Shout out to our friend Jeff. It is Hopewood season because you just never know when you're going to drop dead of a heart attack, and you need to have that will.
Did you know, by the way, fun
Will
fact,
in a day. What?
that the 2 weeks following daylight savings is the most active heart attack season because the time change
Why?
and the lack of sleep. Swear to God.
I'll be damned.
Yep. It's like the biological clock gets screwed up, and so you're overstressed. Look it up. You can Google it.
That's
Hopewood.
why, especially these people with
HopewoodJD.com.
kids.
Yeah. And the tournament the same.
Yeah.
Plus
and
spring
you got
break.
St. Patty's Day.
Yeah. So factors.
A lot going on. Go out and buy yourself a bottle of Cody Road as well for the upcoming tournament. May as well. If you're going to die, you may as well enjoy a bottle of whiskey before you go. HopewoodJD.com. Get that will done in a day. All right, real quick, I just wanted to reference this because everybody's freaking out about the Keshon Gilbert not traveling with the team. I don't know. This didn't surprise me. I kind of took it when TJ made his statement on Sunday that this was the way it was going to be. I asked. He still can use the team facilities. I know that there are some people from the program back with him, helping him work out. It is a deal where, okay, you're not good enough to play. Let's get you as healthy as you can for whatever the professional world's going to be after this, is how I am taking this. I was around everybody. It didn't, nothing controversial. It doesn't, I think a lot of people are trying to make more out of it. This is a guy who has a lingering injury. They shut him down. They made a decision, and he's going to work on him while the team goes off and does their thing. Am I missing anything?
I get it. Because in the past, if a player's hurt, you've seen him on the bench at times, even in the NCAA tournament.
Yes.
But again, I'm not in there every day to understand.
But oftentimes in those examples, they're not out of eligibility. The Keshon deal for me, from what I understand, is different because he's trying to get ready for whatever postseason tournament like Portsmouth or whatever. Like he's trying to. That's how I understand this. I could be wrong. That's how I understand it.
And I guess after Friday, then at least it's not a topic anymore, right? I mean, I don't see a world where he's going to come back in any capacity, even if Iowa State makes the Final Four. I mean, I've seen that floated on the message boards and chat and Twitter and those types of things. It doesn't sound like Keshon will play again for Iowa State. And I guess as long as that's the expectation, everybody understands it, Keshon, the other players, the coaches, then it is what it is. And at some point, I'm guessing, maybe we'll understand a little bit better what exactly happened there. But I think, honestly, C-Dub, it's a Keshon and TJ deal right now, and they've said what they've said, and I'm not in there to second guess or wonder what's going on there. And now the focus is on the games and not on Keshon Gilbert.
Yeah, I don't, because people are asking me, it's like, is it disciplinary? No, like he didn't break any laws or it's.
No suspension.
No, and it's not like they kicked him out of team facilities or anything like that. Otts even said today his media availability, good stuff on Lipscomb, by the way. It's up on our YouTube page, up on the front page. He spoke positively about it, and they didn't put out a release. Remember when the grill thing happened? Mm-hmm. They put out a press release that he has been released from the team. None of that. He was with the team at the Selection Sunday thing. So again, like the way I am reading this, and when I've asked, like he's going through whatever this is. He said it was a groin, using his words, and his goal is to be ready for whatever professional opportunities await him. Okay, go work on it then.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
That's
just taking people at their word at this point.
Yeah,
And
that's what we're doing.
There's way too many other things to be concerned about, in my opinion, honestly, than that right now. From where I understand it, where I see it, it's the focus is on those guys that are going to play then. I mean, it doesn't do you any good to worry about, even on the team. Yes, they still love Keshon. They want him to do well. But Iowa State's got a huge opportunity in front of it. If you start looking at the past and what happened behind, then you're going to lose track of what's ahead. And I think that's the motto for this team is everything's still on the table. Let's go. Put everything else aside.
Yeah, I don't know what else to add, and I really don't want to talk about it anymore.
It's a story. It's going to be a story.
I understand
it's
it.
Not,
and
it's not. It's not. This is not normal. This doesn't happen a lot.
Correct.
And so when things are not normal, ultimately you're going to have people that fill the void with their own theories of what's going on.
I just knew if we didn't address it, though, then people would be like, "Oh, you guys are covering something up." I mean,
and
we don't.
But
we
quite frankly,
didn't know this was happening until Otzelberger said it in the press conference on Sunday.
Hey, and I'm going to take what Keshon said on Twitter at his word, what TJ said in the press conference, and that's the extent of my time I'm going to spend on it. Because, and again, Keshon did a lot for this program, but if it's it, then it's unfortunate that that's the way it has ended. But at the same time, this group can still do a lot of things, and it's not worth spending so much time on that when there's a lot ahead of it. And then honestly, C-Dub, on my end, it's like, well, he's out of eligibility. And so focus on this group, who's going to come back next year, and then what can you do in the portal?
Yeah, I saw somebody was like, "Oh, well, when Niang broke his foot, he was in Madison Square Garden with him." Like, that was totally different. Because he still had eligibility left, and he was going to be with the program the next year, all that stuff. And it's just a different era now. And I know that a lot of people don't like that, but it's why I stress this often, and I hate the way it comes off. But there many times our fans, which is great, it's what we love about Iowa State fans, are more invested, not from a physical, but like from a long-term standpoint than many of the players. These guys, like half the team will be gone next year. They're going to transfer. I promise you, because that's just the way college basketball is now. So it's not, I'm not taking shots at it. It's just reality. It's not as loyal of a game as it used to be. These coaches bounce around all the time. We're really lucky because like Matt Campbell's been there forever. Jamie Pollard's been there forever. TJ Otzelberger's been a part of Iowa State basketball for the majority of 15 years. Bill Finley's been there for 2 decades. Right? It's just we don't have like this constant turnover, but you know, a lot of these players, like it's like, how can I become a professional? It's unfortunate, but that's the vibe I'm getting here. And until I learn something else, that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, and I'm in the same boat. I do think we have largely stayed out of the new era of college athletics because they have stayed around football and basketball. Like I've told the stat, Iowa State was the only program to not lose a football starter, men's basketball starter, or women's basketball starter last year. Only one Power 5 in the country. That's
incredible. Mainly because I think of our fans.
It doesn't happen anymore. Yeah.
And it's the fan support. It's probably why Darren DeVries isn't at Iowa, right?
100%. 100%. But that's also why fans will fill the void and like, well, what's going on there?
Yeah, because they care so much.
Yeah, because they care. This is coming from a good place.
Yes.
I'm just putting my trust in this staff to know what's best for this team and leaving it at that for now.
Yeah, I don't blame anybody for asking questions, but I knew that if we didn't address it, that we would get blown up and be accused of being something that we're not.
And C-Dub, I think, you know, the season is like focused on Friday. I'm going to tell you, this is going to be a very active offseason. So, not going to be typical offseason, I think, for Iowa State in the portal. Okay.
Well, let's get after it, baby.
Yeah. When does the WeWillCollective.com, March 24th. Real quick before I forget, because I jumped through some hoops for some people. I made some connections, and we are going to have a very casual get-together Friday afternoon from 3 to 7 and Saturday afternoon from 3 to 7 at Central Standard Distillery. So this place was co-founded by one of my high school and college classmates. And and they'll have a private room open just for Iowa State fans. Upstairs.
We did this the last time we were here, too.
Same place. Awesome food. Central Standard, 3 to 7, both Friday and Saturday. Come
I
as
can't
you
make
wish.
Friday, but I will be there on Saturday if the Clones win.
And they'll have projectors there. They'll have drink specials. They're making a We Will Old Fashioned for us, a presidential punch as well. So, again, support people that are good Iowa Staters at the end of the day.
So I bought a bottle of their whiskey the last time, and it was really good.
Yeah, nice people. And again, we're not getting anything from it. It's just helping out people that are
State
are good
fans
Iowa
like
State
to gather.
Yeah, that's right. So it's a
And
gathering spot.
Your wife is, I know, making a graphic, and we'll get that plastered.
Yeah. So just FYI for those who have asked me on the internet.
There you go. All right. I think
What's
that's
your prediction? Here, can I give you my prediction?
Yeah.
I think Iowa State makes a Sweet 16 and potentially beyond. I feel really okay because this has kind of been. There's been some consternation within the fan base. I really believe this. I think Iowa State's going to surprise a lot of people with how it plays this weekend in a positive way. I think this team's ready to go.
I do like the fact that everybody seems to be counting Iowa State out.
I do too. This is where TJ's really good. I think these guys offensively are going to be really good, specifically in this first game. And I think that confidence carries over. And again, what I put this up on Tuesday, or maybe it was Monday. Since March 1st, via Bart Torvik, Iowa State has the 4th best efficiency in the country. Now, they've lost 2 games in that stretch, but the efficiency numbers are really, really good. Iowa State's playing great basketball, but nobody quite understands it now.
I'll say, though, I would rather play Ole Miss than North Carolina.
Yes, I agree.
Because I was on their message board, that's not a positive fan base about everything going on there right now.
Well, and then the way Davis is playing for North Carolina,
yeah,
he's
I don't.
Another one of the,
and that's where you just love to have Keshon.
Yes, exactly.
Right, and I think that would. I think it's 50-50. I think they beat Lipscomb. I think that matchup would be really tough. I think that they would beat Ole Miss.
Yeah,
the Carolina thing's so weird though. Could you go 0-11 or whatever it is, or 1 against quad 1, and then just get hot and everybody's on your? So that smells fishy to me too. I
look at their.
I
numbers.
trust this Iowa State team. I really do. I like what the coach did with the Gilbert thing and the focus and all that stuff. The problem is we just haven't seen a consistent Iowa State team in a while. But you're pointing out. You just look at the data, they have been consistent. Hasn't necessarily. They really should have beaten BYU. I mean, really, that's a team that hit 18 threes.
Correct.
Right? So there's some caveats to that.
And then
there's a lot of nuance conversation.
Here's where we forget, and I had a kind of epiphany last night. Iowa State still has Curtis Jones, right? Taman Lipsey. Who seems to be healthy, by the way. Joshua Jefferson. Milan Momcilovic. Nate Heisey's playing as good as he has. Brant Chatfield's giving you a bunch off the bench. And Deshaun Jackson as well, right? You've got a really talented 7. I know you wish you had 8. And people are like, oh, is Cade Keller going to play? He probably will. But your 7 is still really good. Same with Watt. He'll play a little bit too. Go back.
I was saying that because
I know. I get. He will though.
Why didn't you say his name?
Depending on foul trouble.
I don't know,
in those
guys.
Situations. But I think sometimes you focus so much on what's not going well, and the reality is Iowa State, in my opinion, has more offensive talent right now than it did at all last year. And if the pieces can come together, even without Gilbert, I think this team is still better than it was last year. And so when those pieces get going. Curtis Jones is at another level right now. Taman's a year older. Milan's a year older. All these guys have seen this before. I really think Iowa State is going to surprise some people. I do.
I hope you're right. I tell you what, I want a piece of Michigan State's ass.
Let's go. For Larry.
We need to slay some demons.
For Larry.
Get you Stacey in the house down there in Atlanta.
I'm in.
That's what I want. All right. I got to go do another show. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Hey, for those...
It's time!
Just want to make sure, is your hotel haunted? I know you like to investigate.
I don't think
things.
so.
Okay.
No, but I am going to go
Because it looks
hunting.
like on YouTube, like if people are watching on YouTube, it looks like there might be a murder scene behind you. So just making sure.
So this is one of those like modern like chick type hotels. It's got
like
it's
a
honestly
boutique.
it's wallpaper.
It's like a boutique.
It's wallpaper with like splashes of paint all over it. That's what that is. It's the splattered look.
Making sure it wasn't like The Shining or something. Okay, I'm fear for your safety here.
This hotel's not haunted.
Okay,
No.
All right.
But I might go over to the old Pfister later and hunt. You ever been to the
luck to you,
Pfister? That's where all the MLB players won't stay because all the shit happens to them.
Appropriately named.
Yeah. All right. He is Brent Blum, Aiden Wyatt producing. As always, we are presented by our friends at Mechdyne. Go Clones. We'll be back, hopefully with a very celebratory Sunday